Hey, what's up? Ian here, and this is my review for the KZX HBB Pr2 Planar Magnetic IEM. I've already unboxed, I've graphed it, and I've shared my first impression of this IEM. And if you haven't watched that video, please click on the link above to watch that video. Now, in this video, I'm just going to go through my sound impression and maybe compare with some other planar IEMs that you see here. Now, let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into the review. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the value. So just a recap, this Pr2 is retailing at 45 or 46 US dollars and making this IEM the cheapest planar or pure planar IEM that you can find in the market. The rest of the competition is priced at maybe 100 to 200 US dollars. It's nowhere near the price point of 46 US dollars. So yeah, if you're on a budget and you really want to add a planar IEM in your collection, this is definitely a no-brainer. You really don't have to think about which one to buy. You just need to buy this if you're on a budget. Okay, right, next I want to talk about drivability. Now all planar drivers are not easy to drive. They're not easy to push, okay, and including this Pr2. Now this Pr2 is just a little bit more difficult to push as compared to the rest of the planar IEMs, and that's because of the sensitivity. If you look at the box at the back here, the sensitivity for this is 94 dB, so it's not a very sensitive IEM, so it needs more power to push it. I'm not saying that you can't push it with your phone. You can, but you just need to bump up the volume a little bit more. So if you don't want to if you want to get the full potential of this Pr2, then maybe get a dongle deck amp that gives more power, and this will definitely push this Pr2 to its full potential and give you a more fuller body sounding music. Okay, or if you want, you can get a dedicated player, and this will definitely push your Pr2 to the maximum and give it the full sound. Okay, so that's for the drivability. Next, let's talk about the tone and timbre for this IEM. Now, the tone and timbre is somewhat of a lighter tone, but a more neutral to natural sounding timbre. Okay, now comparing to its predecessors, the Pr1 is very light, very lean, very dry. This is a bit warmer than the Pr1, but the Pro, okay, the Pro it's got more musicality, is a bit more heavier in the note weight, and it is warmer sounding than the Pr2. So I would say the Pr2 is somewhere in between the Pr1 and the Pro. Okay, so that's the tone and timbre for this Pr2. Next, let's talk about technicalities. So in terms of technicalities, I would say this again, right, in comparison now, okay, this is going to be here. All right, this is going to be here. This is the best technical IEM as compared to the predecessors. So in terms of detail retrieval, this has got the best detail retrieval as compared to the rest. Soundstage is almost the same. I would say this one is a bit wider, a bit more engaging in terms of the soundstage, and overall imaging and sound separation. Yeah, this two is actually comparable in terms of the Pro and the Pr2. Pr1 is nowhere near, I think. And then for detail retrieval, this is the best, right? The Pr2 has got the most detail retrieval as compared to the other two. I can hear more nuances being retrieved from the Pr2s. Okay? Now let's talk about the sound signature of this Pr2. Basically, it's a V-shaped tuned IEM, and I want to thank HBB for doing such a great job retuning the Pr1 and the Pro and coming up with this Pr2. Is basically a better tuned Pr1 and Pr1 Pro. Okay, so in terms of the sound signature, if you look carefully here, okay, I just want to highlight the overall tuning of it is V-shaped. Okay, but what HBB did was he retuned the mid bass and of course clean up the treble. If you look at the treble, it's a mess on the Pr1, and it's not so much of a mess on the Pr1 Pro, but now it's so much better on the Pr2. Okay, so in terms of the overall tuning, HBB did a very good job. Okay, now let's talk about the individual. Okay, sub bass. Sub bass has got good extension to the sub bass. In fact, the best sub bass rumble as compared to the other two. As you can see, if I zoom in, the graph or the curve is going up, and whereas for the other two, it's coming down just a little bit. So I would say it's got a bit more rumble as compared to the other two in terms of sub bass, and also it's cleaner. Is well, I wouldn't say it's more musical. The Pr1 Pro has got the most musical and most engaging rumble, but this Pr2 is somewhere in between the One and the Pro. Okay, then for the mid bass, now the mid bass has been cleaned up, right? Previously, the mid bass on the Pr1 and the Pro, they sound a bit muddy, and yeah, it's a bit bloated lah. Okay, in terms of the mid bass, but for the Pr2, they sound cleaner, right? It's not as bloated as the other two. It's faster, it's cleaner, it's got a more responsive, more punch and more slam to the mid bass. Okay, so a well improved mid bass on the Pr2s. Now for the lower mids is recessed. In fact, it's the most recessed of the three. I would say vocals and instruments alike, they do sound recessed, they sound veiled by the percussions, but it's not by a lot lah. Okay, I would say it's recessed, but it's not going to be as recessed as the other two. Instruments like the pianos and the violins, they still have that clarity there, and the tonality, overall tonality of it sounds balanced as compared to the Pr1s. Pr1 sounds a bit too dry, too lean, and the Pr1 Pro has got a bit more warmth, a bit more engagement to the mids, to the instruments, but yeah, Pr2 somewhere in between. Okay, I would say. Now, in terms of vocals, I would prefer female vocals on the Pr2s. Okay, on the Pr1 Pro, male vocal sounds better. They've got a bit more note weight, a bit more engagement, a bit more authority for the male vocals on the Pr1 Pros, but on the Pr2, it sounds a bit more balanced for the male vocals, a bit more firmness to the male vocals, a bit more natural sounding, and not so engaging, not so musical as the Pr1, but it sounds more technical and cleaner as well. Okay, so that's for male vocals, but female vocals, they have sparkle on the Pr2s, not so much on the Pr1, because Pr1s, they sound piercing, they sound a bit sibilant on Pr1. On female vocals on the Pr2, it sounds engaging, sounds angelic, and more sparkle, more energy on the Pr2s. Okay, Pr1s Pros, they sound a bit more, well, laid back, I would say, relaxed on the Pr1 Pros. Right, so that's for the vocals. Now let's move on to the treble. So overall treble, I would say the Pr1, they are piercing, right? They've got that sibilance there. Pr1 Pros, they sound a little bit laid back, a bit darkish in terms of treble. So the Pr2s actually is somewhere in between these two. Okay, it's not to the extreme. In fact, the energy on the Pr2s, they sound really good, right? Really engaging, very energetic. Treble, cymbal strikes, hi-hats, they have very clean strikes, very high energy strikes as well, very engaging, and the air on this is not too much, all right? It's not too much as compared to the other two. In fact, it's just nice, very good extension of the treble. So overall treble, I would say this is a big improvement as compared to the other two. Right, so that's the overall sound signature of the Pr2. Overall, I would say, this is a big improvement of the predecessors. Okay, alright, so to conclude, I would say this is a big recommendation from me. At this price point, you will not go wrong, and as you can see, it has big improvements from its predecessors, so it's a no-brainer to get this one, unless they come up with another collab which improves on this one, which I'm not too sure when it's going to happen, but for now, this is the best KZ planar IEM you can get. Okay, now let's compare with other planar IEMs that I have in my collection. I just want to put it out there, this is not the best planar IEM that I have, okay, but I just want to give you a context of where this KZ planar is standing. All right, so with my favorite planar IEMs. I've got a few, right? I've got a few favorite, and these are my few favorite planar IEMs, and they are the Heyday, okay, and the Talos and the Timeless. These three are my favorite. In terms of technical aspects and a more clinical listening experience, I would go for the Talos and the Timeless. More of musical listening experience, I'll go for the Heyday, right? So the Heyday is where I think the Pr2 is coming close to in terms of the musicality, in terms of technicality. It's coming close to the Heyday. My Heyday is a very resolving IEM, a very resolving planar. It's got wide soundstage. The Pr2 is not as wide as the Heyday. Heyday's got a more musical engagement. The Pr2 is almost there, and I think overall it's getting there. It's somewhere at the same level as the Heyday, and I would say at this price point is definitely performing well above $46 US, okay, compared to the Heyday. In terms of Timeless and the Talos, these two, they sound very technical, they sound very clean. At the same time, they've got that warmth there as well. They don't have much of that planar timbre, and it sounds very engaging overall and very clinical sounding for these two. I'm not talking about with the BA switch on. This is without the BA switch. So with this two, it's still a bit untouchable, but with the Heyday, I find that it's getting close and it's very comparable. Alright, so that's my overall comparison with the other planars. I'm not going to compare with the rest. It's going to take a long time, but that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and I thank you guys for watching this video until now. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and also please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Alright, so that's it for now. I hope you guys have a great day ahead, and I'll see you again in my next video. Cheers.